Alright. We're gonna watch the Fuel take on the Shock, though. I think this was the most interesting match in terms of performance. I kind of want to see it. Like, I was kind of unimpressed with how the Shock played, but I don't know if it was, like, Fuel playing well. I kind of want to sort of, like, review and see what was different and what was up with the matches, so...
Welcome to Oasis. The objective is now active.
Big pulls by the Gamsu. Like, that was a really good lamp by Crimzo right there. Alright, sorry. I'm just trying to remember how everything works. Like, look at this lamp. It hits the whole team, saves Trill's life. It's in a little bit in the open, but you want it there for like everyone, not just Trill. Good pulls by Gamsu. Oh, this is where they go into the meat grinder, right? Like, just a party in the basement. Oh, look at this, by the way. Zoom. Oh, you're bummed. Teabag. I wonder if Uncle will be better when he starts healthy. Yeah, that's what we'll have to work out. I was wondering when you enter into the replay, but I've been wanting to for a while. I just, I wasn't sure if I was allowed to yet. So, but I'm good now. Alright. I feel like the Reaper May is just not good, as you see Decay switch to the McCree. Like, I think you seriously lack with the Reaper May. You have to engage, because the Reaper doesn't get any value unless you hard engage. So that's why I think a lot of people have been tending to McCree and playing more passive and baiting your main tank. Especially if Gamsu, they're going to play double hit, main tank. I don't think you can rush as well, so I think you kind of want to put the McCree behind the shields. The Trill shield breaks. He gets bullied a little. The field's late. That was a weird nano. Was Troy about to die? Decay killed 2 and Troy was about to die. Alright, that was the right nano. So Striker goes to Tracer. I remember this. So Striker goes to Tracer. He's gonna run it down. Oh, nice boot by Moth. Everyone throwing all the ults. Oh, did his ult get... Oh my god, that was so lucky by Super. He shattered at the same time. I didn't even notice this. He shattered as Doa threw the May ult, so therefore the May ult got cancelled. They would have lost this fight for sure if that hadn't happened. Calculated shatter. I think it's impossible to shatter. Unless he predicted that he was going to throw the May ult, but you can't time it, so he couldn't have heard the voice land and then shattered. Still in the team fight though. But Fuel had to use everything, so at this point, they used everything, but Shock's like switched their comp over a million times. So they just give up. So they got Nano and they got the Tracer Pulse Bomb. Typical genius at work. Just a typical genius, you know? I'm surprised they're using It's interesting that... Why are they using Trill's shield and not Gamsu's? Gamsu uses the shield. He doesn't want to replace the shield. I guess he's waiting to drop and then drops the shield. Which makes sense. Any of these days, he's going to use the shield. Alright, there we go. Probably the smarter play. But... So Trill just gets bullied. The field comes down late again. Rough by Crimzo. 600 HP dies quick. Yeah. I guess that's something that you need to do. I just thought you'd rather keep your Ryan shield than your Orisa shield, because the Orisa shield has a cooldown, while Ryan shield breaks, it takes a long time to sort of recharge. Closer with the stall. Does he live through this? Oh no, he gets chased. Alright, so Sinatra comes back on the Doomfist. This is the thing that I actually really liked about Shock's play, is they weren't afraid to just switch into things that they thought were good in the moment. Like, we've seen it so many times, like Choi switches the ball, Striker switches to Tracer, and they're just running it back with Tracer. Sinatra switches to the Doomfist instead of the Mei. That's the strength of this roster, right? Is they have so much versatility. So Striker's just being so annoying. Oh, Crimson switched over to the Moira for this last fight. Oh, shatters the Ana. So the Ana's going to go down. Oh, that was so unfortunate. Closer dies with bead as well. Man, if... There's L gets eaten. If Closer got that bead off, they could have easily won that fight. It's just... That huge play by Sinatra on the Doomfist, punching the Lucio.
Wobble, wobble, motherfucker.
Rohan Dragoon, thank you for the 2 months. Crunch time. Why is also, I don't know about using Orisa against this. If they, this is my problem with playing double main tanks. They have to play Orisa. There is no other main tank that works. There's no other tank that Gamsu can play that's that good. He could play Wrecking Ball, but against Mei, like if the structures go Mei, the Wrecking Ball is essentially useless. That's why you saw so much. That's why you didn't really see much Wrecking Ball. The Ryan D.Va is like the pivot away from Orisa, but Fuel can't play that. That's why they have to play Ryan. They have to play Orisa pretty much a full time when Gamsu and Trill is in, and that's sort of the limitations of playing double main tank.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Does Gamsu not have a viable Ryan to run with D.Va? Well, the problem is Gamsu and Trill both can't play D.Va. At least at a level that they're willing to deal with. See, but sometimes you just got to do it, right? Do you guys remember when the Valiant against somebody was playing Goats, and we were always playing Sombra Goats, and then we switched Shax to D.Va, and all we said is all you have to do is eat the grab. And we rushed him, we rushed down the Xayah, and we fucking got it. We said, okay, they have grab. The only win condition they have is grab. What we're going to do is we're just going to run at them with full Goats, and we're going to isolate the Xayah and force her to grab. Shax, eat it. And it fucking happened. First Spark in the stage playoffs. That's what it was, yeah. And it worked. Just like a dream. Actually, I don't think that was stage playoffs. I think that was... we got destroyed in the stage playoffs. I think this might have been... regular season match. Okay, so you see them go McCree again, the Dallas Fuel, and that's how the West was won. So Dallas, I think, were prioritizing this Baptiste at the start of the series, but played a lot more Ana towards the end of it. I am a bigger fan of Ana than I am of Bap. I think the Ana has more range, and I think the Immortality field doesn't get as much value, especially if a McCree's in the game. Maybe they like running it if they're going to run Ryan Orisa. They prefer the Bap over the Ana because it can potentially do more healing. But with Bap's healing going to 50 instead of 60, I think it's a massive HPS loss. So I'm not as big of a fan. I also think Window it's very hard to get value with Window in this meta, while I think Ana Nano gets a lot of value a lot of the time. No one plays Baptiste like Rascal. Well, the game's also changed since Rascal played Baptiste as well, so you see them baiting the shit out of Super. Good disengage by the Shock. Architect hits the sleep. God, they're just running it down. The crazy thing is, it took them way too long to kill Decay with that play. I also think they went too ham. Like, I think they had the advantage until they all hard committed on Decay. I think if they hadn't done that, they could have won. Obviously, True hitting the pin on the Lucio was kind of a big thing. So, but that was kind of a risky play by the Shock. Let's see how they use the window, because seeing as they're in the ult. Like, Crimzo, I guess, uses it alone. Oh, that was such an unfortunate timing of Moth booping at the same time that Super pinned. That was kind of a rough fight for them. They sort of walked into a Mei wall with a Bap ult. Like, let's actually look back at that. So Sinatra goes first. I assume they send in Sinatra first because he has block, right? Let's just run this back. Make sure we're looking at it right. Crimzo totally carried that fight. Alright, so let's see. Are they intentionally walking in Sinatra first because he has block? No, it probably just seems like mistiming. So he walls the Orisa. Oh, he just dies before he got block off. So I think that was just a mess up by Sinatra. Dies before he gets block off. Crimzo just drops the wall. I feel like they walk into the wall there without any solution to the problem. Like they just... Maybe they didn't even expect it. Ah, no, they must have expected him to have window. But they just sort of walked into the window without like a counterplay. If anything, I would have liked them to see split more doors. Like Architect went up here. Like if you could have just... If you just walk your like... You could play your Ryan May, like main, and then you could have your like Lucio McCree Diva just like go right. And then if they wall off these guys, then your Ryan just like may walk in for free. Just something that's gonna not allow them to just get walled and lose the fight. Sinatra with the flank shatter. Wait, what? Who did he just pin? So here's the play that I like. By the way, this is pretty much what I just said, but with like a different thing. They send their Mei Diva in through a different door as their Ryan, so that means that they all can't get walled. So whoever gets walled, the other team can just rotate to support. Obviously, the flank shatter comes out from Trill. I think that's a nice play. Oh, Trill's just a babo and pins into a wall. Big babos. Pretty much causes a massive issue in this fight. Oh, that's right. Super like hard ints by turning the corner and just getting caught by the high noon. That actually happened a lot in this weekend of people just like not respecting the high noon and walking out too early. That was Choi Boop. Yeah, maybe it might have been just like booped him enough to go into the corner. Oh, do they know Sinatra's here? That was dangerous play. Oh, I remember seeing this real time. Gamsu needs to just run here, and I'm very confused to why he doesn't. He hits his Fortify, and then like acts as if he can win, and then just gets frozen and dies. Like that was a really bad play. Like if he had just got out of that room, it would have been a good fight for Fuel, but because he just dies on his own in the room, it's really hard to think. That seemed like a bunch of mistakes across the board from the Fuel. I like that Trill's pinning on cooldown. He should pin people more. He's hitting a lot of walls. Once again, Ryan May take it to a different angle. The Orisa and the Baptiste, I really like this move, right? Like the Ryan and the May are pretty self-sustainable in terms of like they're not just going to instantly die, so they're going from a different direction, making it really hard for them to isolate anyone. Shock goes for a different strategy though. Of like, as soon as they see this, they just hard engage with the nano and the beat, especially with the window down, which I think is the right play because they need to do something, right? Once the window goes down, they have the Ryan and the May on their side. They can't really isolate anyone too well. Just hard engage. So this is a really nice reaction by the Shock. They do have to go so deep for this kill though, but they isolate Trill, just the nano and the Rhino, and they win that fight. And that's a big fight to win. The only issue that they have now is that the beat is gone and they have May out high noon. Never like window main unless the fight is already taking place. And well, the window was almost a bait. Baiting them to go. Unfortunately, like, it was a good play if they try, like, it stopped, if you put a window here, it stops them from rushing Trill. Like, let me show you why. Right? So here comes the engagement. We'll show the engagement again. So the window is good on the fact that they use the high noon here as well. Wait, why didn't I go back? That was supposed to go back 20 seconds. It didn't go back. Okay. Cool. Okay, so by stepping up with the window and Trill and Doha mate, if they had tried to deal with Trill and Doha at this moment, they would have lost this fight because the window's down. This is a really good heads up call to like see the window go down and then just go, alright, rush main. I think it is on Doha. Doha needs to be ready for this and be able to wall off the Rhine. Just at least slow down this push. But it was such a good reaction by Shock as well that I think it's hard to really see that one coming. And there aren't that many... That's what makes Shock great, right? Is they make the right call a lot of the time. And, like, even if it wasn't the right call, you saw how quickly they committed. Choi, Trooper, and Moth were all ready for that immediate call to just run at the team. Okay, same thing again. We have Gamsu Decay main. I don't know what the shield is. They have Gamsu Decay main. And then Trill comes in from the side. Just like a really smart pincer with the high noon main. Shadow comes in from the side. Trill doesn't even hit anyone with that Shadow. I don't know how. I think he might have got blocked. But the... what happened? Oh, okay, let me show this again. I wish I could go back like 5 seconds without having to like fucking play with the meter. Look at this play by Doha. They showed this on the stream. It's a really smart play. They just walk in as soon as he freezes the D.Va. He just walks out left click. As soon as he freezes the D.Va, drops down the freeze, and then these guys are in trouble. Massive freeze, and that's just a game over. That's what makes Mei so strong. Is just her ability, like, if she gets a good ultimate down, she got it on the D.Va, the Rhine, and the Lucio, the fight's just over at that point. Here is a massive issue that I had with the Fuel. I remember watching this moment in the real time. This was a massive mistake, okay? 83%. You know Shock has a bunch of ults, right? They have D.Va ult, they have Mei ult. You have Bongo. You don't have anything to defend this point. You need to do something that's going to stop them from being able to walk onto the point and use the ultimates that they want to use, okay? And it seems like they have the right idea, and then it gets counter-called, okay? If I was Fuel, I would want to set up around here, shoot at them, and I would want to Bongo early. I'd want to Bongo early, like maybe around here, and then just make it so that it's really hard for the Shock to walk to the point. Because the Shock are on time constraint, right? It's 83%. The D.Va's not even alive right now. They have to cross so much distance. So if by playing aggressive, you get the opportunity to just win the game for free. And then you do so much damage, it's going to potentially force ultimates, it's going to force cooldowns, they might have to use amp speed, they're going to have to use nade, Super might even pin, they're going to run. And it might force, like, Choi might be like, Sinatra's like, to create space, I'm going to, like, use my wall here and then, like, throw my ult over here. But what Fuel do is wrong, okay? They have the right play. I would really love them to see them use the Bongo. Like, just spam from here with the Orisa. But because they fall back, what happens is they're giving Shock the point they want for free. It's at 91%. If they had given any form of resistance, they would be getting on a point around 100%. And then Choi would probably have to suicide to touch the point. Or Moth would have to risk his life to touch the point. But by not providing any contest and playing around a wall, that gives a Shock pretty much an even fight where they have the advantage because they have ults. They don't have to worry about touching because they're going to get a free touch anyway. And they just walk on. The Bongo becomes essentially useless because they try... Now they're like counterintuitive on top of that as well. They're setting up the Bongo on the point. Shock's going to be there anyway and they're going to obviously be hard engaging. So he drops the Bongo in a really like... It's like a half aggressive, half passive spot that makes it so that it pretty much instantly dies, which is the only advantage that Fuel have in this fight. So then look at how far Sinatra can get with his Mei ult. From 83%, and him standing in the door, he gets to 99% and is able to throw it in the backline where the Orisa and the McCree and the Ryan are all situated. Troy didn't have to use the Diva Bomb to aggress or contest in any situation. Just gets so much value. I feel like that's always going to be a hard fight because Shock has ultimates, right? They had the Mei ult, they have Diva ults. Very strong ultimates. Fuel only had Bongo. The major disadvantage. They needed to use the advantage of which they had, which was that the point was ticking down. Shock had to touch the point. So you need to do everything in your power to try and, like, stretch that advantage. And they just didn't. Never playable, thank you for the Prime sub. Fuel does come back on winning this. This is a fight that I really don't think they should win. I remember they win this fight, and it's pretty surprising how. I can't actually remember. Oh, okay. This is actually the opposite side of the coin. This is a situation where they have beat Nano and Shatter. I would actually prefer to see them let them in. Because what Shock's going to try... What I think Fuel is going to try and do is I think they're going to try and walk onto the point. Right? And they're going to set up their tanks. I think when you have Shadow and this kind of stuff, you kind of want to bait them to go one direction, and then you'd want to speed with Super, right? You'd want to speed Super into and flank a Shadow. So whichever way the opposition Ryan goes, the Super goes the other way. But because they try and wall them, it gives the Fuel an opportunity to live. Because they're hoping they just get a quick pick, but they don't have the advantage for it. So because of the clusterfuck that happens which is Mei walls, and Trill standing in the corner, Super gets nanoed, gets pulled, doesn't really get the value. And then all of a sudden, as soon as this beat goes down by closer, this is Shock's fuck, our advantage. Super gets forced to use his Shadow early. Trill does a great job of blocking it. And now we're going to even fight. And Striker should kill 7. But he doesn't for some reason. Trill hits a fatty shatty. Super's Sinatra. That kind of just seemed like an aggressive play from the Shock. That they just tried to turn the fight. And this is why I speak about the Shock in a way that I don't think they were playing in their former selves. Is I don't think old Shock would make those kind of mistakes. Of just not making the right play in the right moment, or just that was such a sloppy fight to take. They were just kind of hoping. This was the ranked experience of they were just kind of hoping that by rushing them, it would work out. There's no setup to this. There's no setup. You see Sinatra's oh, they're coming right side. No one's really ready for it. They're all just sort of standing on the point. The wall comes down. It's not that good because Crimzo can kind of see it. They only get the Reinhardt, the Orisa, and the Mei. 3 people that are super self-sustainable. It just didn't feel like the Shock that we know and love. So, you just see everyone's just throwing ults left and right. So, it's a warm up, yeah, and that's it. I'm not saying Shock are bad. I'm not these guys are obviously they're the best players, the best team that we have in this league, but. I wasn't super happy with how they performed in this. You got him, Crimzo. In this match because you got to give props to the Fuel, but I also think Shock is the team that I wouldn't expect to give Fuel this leverage to make those plays.
Score.
The only team that looked pretty consistent was NYXL. I disagree. The NYXL didn't look super comfortable in the first map. In the first series, sorry, against London. I was kind of disappointed with them, but they brought it together on the second day. I think every single team had their ups and downs this weekend. I wouldn't say I think Vancouver, Shock, and NYXL all look strong, but I wouldn't say they were I looked at that team, I'm wow, they just they're unstoppable. All right, so now we have the mirror matchup, except we have Fuel still playing the BAP over the Ana. Trill just almost dies. Now we're all going up the elevator. Trill pins Sinatra. How does Trill get Sinatra in this fight? Okay, that wasn't far enough. what's up, Psycho Slim? How you doing? Jesus, that was so much damage. Ah, that was kind of rude way to win the fight.
The objective is now active.
I think if I was the Shock and I'm playing against this Orisa Ryan, I think maybe an issue that the Shock are having is they're trying to take too much of a frontline fight against the Fuel. I would actually prefer to see the Shock try and take more angles with the McCree and the D.Va, sort of flanking and controlling space. Because it feels like they keep trying to run at Fuel as if they have a mirror matchup, but it's really hard for their tanks to live. Because Gamsu, they have double shield with Trill and Gamsu on Orisa and Ryan. It feels like they're just sort of losing the sustain fight and they're taking too much damage and the walls are just getting too much value from the Fuel. Like, they're just doing so much damage and getting so much work in that it kind of feels like the Shock's trying to overrun the Fuel, but they have too much sustainability. They're trying to play Goats. It kind of feels like that, right? They're trying to play the Goats matchup, but it's not Goats. It's Goats versus double shields. This is a big play by, the caster says this, but Gamsu's on the point. I really like this. And this is sort of what I was saying, but like I would like to see them control space, is the Shock don't have a way to stop the flankers from Fuel, other than... the Fuel don't have a way to stop the Shock players from flanking, other than pretty much Decay. He's pretty much the only person who can really shut this shit down. And you see him trying to pick at Sinatra and going for Sinatra. Trill gets slept dropping. And that pretty much just consolidates the fight because Trill just got owned. I don't know how that's pin missed, but Decay killed 2. No such luck. Why not swap McCree for Sombra? Why would you go Sombra? He needs a few weeks with the meta. I feel like it's just understanding of matchups and that kind of stuff. And it's really hard to recognize in the game and stuff like that. Especially with, I'm not sure how many people the Shock would have scrimmed against that were playing double tank. It doesn't feel like the top teams at all are playing double tank. So maybe they just sort of weren't ready for it. I don't think it's a better comp. I just think you just need to change the way you play against it. Take down double shield. Yeah, but it'll take you way too long to get AMP. Like, especially against the McCree May. Like, it's going to take you too long you'll win a fight once every, like, 4 just because you're playing Sombra, but you'll be useless every other time. So I think this is where the Fuel... Okay, so let me talk about this because this is actually another uncharacteristic Shock play right now, okay? So if I'm the Fuel, I'm like, shit. We have no way of contesting the high ground, and they've gone all the way around, okay? They can't contest the high ground. They have a Moira. They're just trying to sustain on the point, but they have they have a Ryan D.Va. Like, as long as the D.Va can just, like, keep contesting point, which Choi theoretically should be able to for an incredibly long time. He even has D.Va Bomb. Like, I would, like, be willing to throw that after I get it. Fuel don't really have a way to deal with this and cap the point, especially after they go coast. So all Shock has to do is play incredibly slow, okay? They don't really have to do anything. They want to wait for the Fuel to do something so then Sinatra can get a ton of value, because as soon as they start walking too far forward, then Sinatra can just go on the back line. They're not going to be able to support it. But Shock go too early. Again, like, Fuel is fully set up. They have every single cooldown. They have nothing to focus on. And then nothing's going on. Boom. They nano Sinatra. There is no way Sinatra gets anything done with this. Like, they have everything. You see it. As soon as the nano goes down, boom, we're out. Okay, guys. Everyone there. They drop the wall. They're free. Sinatra tries to get value out of this nano. His team's, like, struggling to try and, like, catch up and, like, provide any form of assistance. Sinatra's forced into a bad spot. Obviously, this is, like, pure RNG, but he gets caught and hit by a car. Tragic ending, but, like, that's on Shock, right? I think that was a really bad fight. Striker tries to overcompensate by going too far wide against this, gets pulled in and just completely isolated by the Fuel. And then Super feels like he needs to go for some, like, for a hero play Shatter. That was a really bad shatter by Trill, but I guess it forced the Iron into the corner. And then they win the fight. And that's sort of like what I say about like the Shock is it just feels like they're using their ultimates incredibly sloppy and their play is just incredibly sloppy. And they're all just trying to use their individual skill of like how great of players they are to win the game rather than the coordination that we saw from the Shock. Nakira, thank you for the 21-month tier 3, by the way. Congrats on your first win of the desk. It was fun to watch. Much love. And the important thing about that as well is Fuel didn't have to use a single important ultimate to win that fight either. They didn't have to use the Bongo. They didn't have to use the Mail. The Shadow gets dropped and the High Noon gets dropped, but they're both very like zoning and situational ults that like you're like chilling. They have the beat coming. They have Coalescence coming soon. So Choi drops. They're going to learn from their mistakes. Trill and Gamsu are going to drop at the same time. They honestly, if I'm the Fuel, I try and bait. No, I run at them. I think I run at them. I think that's the right play. I think you run at Shock at this moment. Which is what they do. The aggressive Bongo. Shock try and do a pretty good job of like shutting this down. Sinatra tries to one-shot the Bongo. It lives with 1 health. They use the High Noon and then they use the Diva Bomb as a combo. Super pins though, which is like not great, and he just misses and he feeds. Because I think this would have been a fine fight. I guess Moth died as well. Shit. Yeah. Actually, no, it was a fine pin because Moth was already dead. I didn't see that. Alright, here's another situation of I would have run to spawn. I would have run it down. If you get another kill, Shock doesn't get a re-engage. Okay? Striker is here. Your team is here. Striker does not have Lucio's speed boost. I remember seeing this in real time from the Fuel. This is the moment that aggression is warranted. Okay? Sinatra's about to get pulled. I don't know how many blinks he has left, but probably not a lot. He has 1 blink, and he only just got that blink as well, okay? He only just got that blink. So he only actually has 1 blink for a few seconds. And he has recall up. If you force him to recall, he's in a bad spot. If Fuel just rush him down, they will win this fight. And they really should have. If they kill Striker here, what we're about to see never happens. But because they're so scared, because of exactly what happened in the last game, they pull back. And by pulling back, they give the Shock the opportunity to win this fight. Like, look at Shock. I feel like they're so surprised that they just got away with murder, that they get to walk and have a free fight. The Fuel rotate late, which gives Shock complete control of the point before the Fuel has to think. So now Fuel has to drop into them again. They rush it with a beat. Like, they're just hoping for gold right now. Shock gets the advantage because they get to secondary beat. Sinatra's playing completely free because they tried to rush him down. The best thing they have going for themselves is that Decay is in a really good spot. The Mayout is tragic. It's gonna happen, guys. I think it's time. How do I... First person. We're gonna watch it from third person because I don't know how to get it into first person. Spacebar? Spacebar doesn't work for me because I changed it. How do I go first person? Spectate. Spectate, toggle third person. Oh. Here we go. Let's see how sloppy... Actually, I want to see how sloppy this was from the Fuel. Because they're in a 6v4 situation. Oh god, Striker should have died. But then he one taps Decay. Sinatra's still free shooting. Striker 1 taps Doha. High Noon resets. Crimzo still drops the coal. Trill should really give them the point at this point, and they should have run, but it's fine. Time to go, time to go, time to run. Everybody run. Everybody get out of there. Watch from the K-pop. Oh yeah, I actually haven't watched this from the K-pop. That's actually, that could be funny.
Draw.
Barrier activated. وريهم قوتك.
A headshot does... How much damage does a nano boosted headshot do? Is it 210? You're bummed.
I'm unstoppable. I need a doctor.
Wobble wobble, motherfucker.
Oh no. Venomous Terractor, thank you very much for the 2-month resub. He survives on 3. See how unlucky that is? It is unlucky, but that play wasn't Fuel's fault. I think they played fine. That's just Striker popping off. But I still stand by my point that Fuel are putting themselves in the situation where they're not holding on to their advantages. They have an advantage and then they pull back and they take a 50-50 fight in which you're giving Shock the opportunity to outplay you. For some reason, Doha's on Symmetra here, Sombra here as well. I don't really get this one. And this is something that can't be understated of why these two players are so good. That moment is so important. Because what happens here is if they don't get Doha out of stealth, Choi can't really drop to the point. Because Doha is going to hack him. So because they find him, that gives them the opportunity to force him to recall before the fight even starts, which then gives Choi Urban free reign over just like chilling on the point. Sinatra goes a step further and just fucking runs at Doha. And just, that's such a big play. Such a big heads up play. Super makes the play. Ah, it's just tragic. Decay really needed to go back and get off Sombra. Like, that is my, like, he just needed to get off Sombra because it's just such a tragic thing.
Traveling to Eichenwald. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
How does this happen?
Defend objective A.
A little too far there, Architect. You fool. Yeet! What a noob, am I right? So he just... that was just bad play by Trill. I got nothing for you, Trill. That was on you. Oh, that was actually a headshot as well. You just got owned, Trill. Good wall by Sinatra, though, to stop this follow-up coming. Oh, this was such a feels bad, man. And that's on Gamsu. Gamsu needs to know that he has to fortify to touch there, but he gets Moth gets a crazy boop, stops the recontest.
Objective lost.
And then this is like such a bad fight to lose because all of a sudden the Shock get a crazy amount of ult charge for nothing. Talon, thank you very much for 28 months. Honestly, tragic. The worst things that could have happened. And I think this is what the Shock started realizing in this series, by the way, is that like Sinatra on Tracer is actually really good against Decay and Doha. It like against like this Dallas Fuel side, because generally like the D.Va Matrix is actually so good at shutting down Tracer, and like the D.Va can actually follow the Tracer a lot, that if the Tracer ever gets caught, like gets put in a situation that she can't run away, then the D.Va can just chase her down. Like obviously it's scary to play against the flashbang and the right clicks of the Mei, but if the Tracer just plays smart, he's so hard to deal with, and it creates so much space for the rest of your team. And I think that's sort of what the Shock's adaptation was in this match, is they just sort of stopped running at the front line of the Fuel, and they just sort of started applying backwards pressure. And by doing that, it gave them more space to actually kill the front line. So by applying more backline and flank pressure, it actually helped them apply more pressure to the front line. Because especially when two heads go this is kind of like a GOATS thing that we saw last year as well. When people first started playing GOATS, they just wanted to run each other, right? And it was like, it was so much built on like how the Reinhardts played it, and then everyone's ability to support the Reinhardt. But then Shock was actually one of the first teams to do it, where it was like, what happens if we just off-angle our Xayah? Like, what happens if we just don't have our Xayah frontline supporting the Rhine, and we put them on a different angle where they can actually shoot at the backline, and it forces the D.Va to react, forces that kind of stuff. And then they were like, okay, well, what happens if we do the D.Va on the other side? And you saw a lot of teams start splitting up on how their team was played. They had like the Brig Rhine in the front line, and then it was like the Xayah and the D.Va on opposite sides, applying multiple sides of pressure, and it became about map control and who could control the most space and create it like the hardest. So it generally wasn't the Rhine shields cracking as much and breaking as the evolution of Golds evolved. It was more about who could control the most space. And I think that's what Shock's like starting to do here now, is they're just like, well, instead of just, especially against Dallas Fuel, who are playing double main tanks, if you just try and run into a Rhino Orisa in the front line, you're probably going to lose that fight, especially when you're playing against the Mei, Baptiste, McCree. But if you just apply sideways pressure, the Fuel don't actually have anything to really deal with this. And by having this like Tracer and people play sideways pressure, it's forced Crimzo to get off Baptiste and play Moira, which I think is actually like not a great pick with this Fuel lineup, because the Moira just sort of doesn't get anywhere near as much utility value. Moira does a lot of heals, but doesn't have the like the sleeps, the counter nades that you see in Ana, or the immortality field and like the window that you see out of Baptiste. Sarah tweet saying there's no strap behind the Tracer Doom. He said, trust me. And do you think that's a good mentality to have? All right. So for context of what people are saying, if you watched our Watchpoint segment, Johnny like broke down why Sinatra went Doomfist in this map and why he goes Tracer in this map. And it sort of goes along the same lines as me, is Johnny goes, Sinatra switches to Doomfist because Doha is spending a lot of time marking Choi Hyobin. And because Doha is marking Choi Hyobin, Choi can't deal with Decay. And Decay seems to be the main problem that the Shock is having and with dealing with the Fuel. So if Sinatra switches to a dive character, that allows Sinatra to also help deal with Decay and gives the Fuel less space. Okay? Sinatra saying that he just goes Doomfist because like he swears the thing that's like Sinatra just like he doesn't have to go this roundabout way. He's like, if I go Doomfist, I can kill Decay. It's the same logic of like, I can be more effective and shut down Decay if I just go something that can kill him and help Choi dive him. So it's just like it's automatically implanted in his mind that he doesn't have to go through this like logic of like, voice of reasoning, he automatically knows and how he can win the fight, and like that's how I imagine his brain is working. Is like, I need to be able to help deal with this problem. This is how I deal with it. And the Doom is better against Bap Lucio. As I said, creating backline pressure. All of a sudden he goes Doomfist. It's the same thing of what I'm saying about his Tracer and applying backwards pressure instead of like just running into the front line. They need to apply pressure that doesn't involve them having to run through the shields of the Dallas Fuel, because that is the Fuel's biggest strength when they play double main tank, is that they just have shields, they have everything going for them. They just need to put pressure onto the backline, and that's what they started doing, and you saw Fuel sort of kind of crumble towards the end here. But like once sort of the Shock started running like more dive-based characters. It's subconscious where Reinforcers consciously break it down. Yeah, that's a better way to explain it. I didn't really explain it very well. That was actually such a sick pull, by the way. It stopped Choi Hyobin from making it to Decay, so then they win that fight. That was a good play by the Fuel, getting up there on the thing. We're so much smarter right now. Welcome. But yeah, like, as I said, like, everything becomes the same point of there is always an adaptation that can be made. Sometimes it's the full reasoning behind it isn't always like portrayed, but you can go like down the rabbit hole sort of and sort of explain it in a deeper sense of why people think this way and why people make the switches in which they do. Gabe's had some really good plays this game, yeah. I think he's had some bad plays as well though. Like he's just sort of being caught out of position, or like not used his Fortify well, right? Like, right there is a prime example of not using the Fortify well. And you see with this adaptation of the Shock, Fuel actually did a good job of adapting this playstyle, and you saw it on the Koth before, is they realized, okay, if they're going to play Sinatra on Tracer, we need to just run it super. Because all of a sudden, Fuel's win condition becomes playing together and killing super. Because if Shock don't have a front line, that gives them freedom to just deal with the back line. So the reason this works really well for the Fuel is because they don't Shock don't actually have a lot of protection for super. They have Choi, they have the Ana heals, they have the speed and that kind of stuff, but not a ton of support. The issue that Fuel run into, I think, with this sort of like playstyle of trying to deal with the Shock is they need to kill super fast. Because if they don't kill him, they're on like a timer. If they don't kill him in 10 seconds, Sinatra's just unleashing clips. Striker's shooting for free. All these kind of things. They don't have anything dealing with Striker or Sinatra, so they're hoping they kill them before Striker and Sinatra kill them. So here comes the beat from... Here comes the example of... They try and rush super. They give up their entire positioning to rush super. And then the Shock drop the beat. Striker fucking just claps down onto the tank line. And then Fuel, it's not even close, right? You see, like, if they don't kill super, it's not even close. Yeah, they use the beat, but, like, it's just a free fight win for them. Fuel have the problem that they can run into an anti, though, and the fight just ends. They don't have a diva. Yeah, and that's it. That's the risk that a Fuel are playing, and that's why I think the Fuel strategy is inferior. It might work for them, and they might be good at it, and they could probably get it to a point that it works more reliably, and they could have more adaptations. But I think the reason you'll see a lot of teams not a lot of teams playing double main tank and a lot of teams moving away from double main tank is it just doesn't have the adaptability that you see like the Shock has, right? How many times does the Shock just switch to character and it changes the playstyle that they have? And not a lot of teams can do this. Like Sinatra's played like how many different characters in this series already? Like 4? Like the Striker just goes to Doomfist. Actually, I think he's switching. Yeah, he's switching. But like they have like a ton of adaptability and they can change the style based on the characters they change. While the Fuel, how many people have they changed? They've only changed 2 pieces: Decay from McCree to Reaper, and Crimzo from Baptiste to Moira, and a bit of Ana. So they don't really have that flexibility that these other teams are showing. I think Doha pretty much only played Mei. He played like obviously Gamsey went ball for like one fight and Doha went. I'm talking like majority of the fights. So Fuel step up with the Bongo and the Cole. I don't really love that from the Fuel because they didn't build anything from that, right? Like that's not you don't ever want to use two ultimates and get so few kills. Because what happens is they just traded, they just switched to Reaper and they don't have much mail, and they just use the Cole and a Bongo and only killed one person. So Decay's only at 7% after coming through that. So they pretty much are 3 ults down. And then look at Shock's ultimates, right? They didn't use anything. The ultimates that they retained in the Reinhardt and the D.Va and the Ana are like going to be more valuable later because they use so much. Sinatra turret playing on the Bongo. Yeah, I saw that. Turret's just killing the Bongo. So you see them go the Reaper Doom. I wonder if this is a set strat that they have, or if this is just Sinatra being like, fuck it, I don't want to play Mei. But he goes to the Doomfist. I don't hate the Doomfist against the Reaper because it kind of forces the Reaper to play scared. And the ability to just punch a support on the field is pretty nice against the Moira Lucio. So it's actually pretty hard to die as a Doomfist against this comp. The more I look at this, like, I think Shock would almost certainly rather play Mei, but it's probably Sinatra just being like, I don't... Sinatra literally said on Twitter it was his call. Yeah, but, like, that's sort of what I'm saying. Like, he's just like, yeah, I want to play Doom. But I wonder if it's because he's not happy with how he's playing on Mei. So... I wonder if they've ever tried going Doomfist before in scrims to deal with the Mei Reaper. Like, that was a much more efficient fight. They use the beat and win the fight. Say you didn't want to play Mei, yeah. And that's probably it, right? Interesting moth switch to the Baptiste. I like, here becomes like, so Sinatra goes Doomfist. I wonder if this is Moth like, well, if Sinatra's going to play Doomfist, like, I don't want to play Lucio. I want to understand the reasoning of why Moth doesn't want to play Lucio in this comp. Because I feel like Lucio is still good, right? You give your, like, speed boost to everybody and provide more space for your Doomfist and stuff. Maybe he wants to go the Brig to deal with the Reaper better. So if the Reaper tries to just, like, run in, then he can stun the Reaper. I don't know. That's a weird one. Yeah, Bap. Sorry, I meant Brig. Sorry. I mix Bap and Brig up a lot, which is very confusing, I'm sure. Sorry, I was talking about Brig the entire time. So, it's an interesting choice by Moths. What, you know, in Moth we love and trust. So I'm sure he has a good reasoning behind it. I just wish I knew what that was. Just Doomfist things. Just nano in the Doomfist and he just like one-shots everybody. This is a good stall by Doha. As long as he gets the block off, but he did not. Closer staggering himself. Not a very smart idea. Hashtag delete Doomfist. He literally just came from the top rope, got nanoed, and just like one-shot the Reaper. So Fuel needs to get a lot of value from this. I actually really like this play by the Shock. They know that they can't take a head-on fight versus Reinhardt and the Orisa. I want to actually... Did Architect die? Okay, so Architect died, so they're just waiting for him. Sinatra goes, punches in, doing Doomfist things. Okay, they engage with the male. I actually really like that, engaging with the D.Va ult. Providing them so much space. Oh, that was such a big sleep on Gamsu. Shark has had a lot of ults in that fight to just like work with, but that was really well. That was like, and that was like, that's the ult efficiency and the teamwork that you like expect to see from Shock, right? Like Sinatra goes in, tests the waters, nothing really happens. Then they engage with D.Va Bomb at the same time that Sinatra engages, gives them a ton of space, isolates the Reaper. Then, you know, like from there it's just like pulling it together. Are these replays only accessible to people with an out? No, I believe they're anyone can watch them. Someone told me that we can watch these. Everyone said they're accessible. It sure is. Yeah. Yeah, they're public. Yeah. God, you guys are trying to get me worried that I'm getting people in trouble, because I was waiting until they became public, until I started watching them. Alright, so here we go with the mirror matchup. Crimso's still playing BAP. The wall's kind of bad by Doha. It's just a greedy charge by Trill. But Decay is a god. Do I like this charge by Trill, or do I not? Does this... the question is, does this charge need to be made? Generally, whenever you decide on a Rhine pin, I guess you see so many people lined up that the chances of it coming through is pretty high. But I feel like this charge doesn't need to be made. Like, they have point position, they have good flank control. By doing this, like, he could have so easily died here. It's actually... oh, the field was really good, actually. You see that lamp? It was in this doorway. It actually saves Trill's life. So that's a very good play, Greg Crimso. Ben's Kid, thank you for the 100 bits. I think he trusts his BAP to use lamp. Yeah. And if that's something that they've, like, agreed and coordinated on, like, that's a good play. Dangerous, though. As I said, like, how many fights are lost by your Reinhardt because he pins in when he really didn't need to? Went Brig to pack Sinatra when he went in. That actually makes sense. That actually could be a really cool set strat with the Doomfist. You go that would actually make more sense. That's actually probably a good reason. Something that I didn't think of. You go the Brig so that you armor pack the Doomfist before he jumps in. That gives him so much more survivability. Good call. Good call. I wonder if we'll see more people do that in the future because that's a pretty good reason. Moth was locking Brig today for, I think, all of his games. They're up to something. Oh, boy. Maybe the Brig is coming in. But wasn't Krusty saying, like, I saw a Twitter post of Krusty being like, Sinatra practice Junkrat. Maybe they're just sort of, like, diversifying their hero pools. Because with hero pools coming out, like, it's really important that all the players learn. And if I think of Moth, like, I'm sure the one that he hasn't played the most is Brig. So maybe he's just, like, spending time practicing. So it might not be as much of a pocket strap, but it might just be them just, like, practicing for the future. You know what? I don't think I gave Striker enough credit. I think Striker's actually playing pretty solid on this McCree. I think he's had his moments. I think he probably got outplayed by Decay, but I think I was probably too harsh on it. Now that I watch it, like, I think last time I was kind of blindsided by how well Decay was doing, but I think Striker's been fine on the McCree. Why are they playing Architect over Violet? We don't actually know. It seems, from what we've, like, heard from, like, the public Twitter sphere, is that they decided pretty late into practice that they were going to play with Architect due to scrim results. So I guess they've probably been practicing with Architect. Apparently Architect used to be an incredibly good Ana. According to Wolf, he used to play Ana in triple support in Korea a few years ago, and apparently he was really fucking good at it. So it might be just like a pocket pick that he has in the supports that he's really fucking good at, and he was really good at it. So you can't really argue with it. But that must be the reasoning, unless there's something that we don't know about Violet, like he might be sick or something. I think I got nanoed earlier. Sinatra frozen feels bad. That was a triple support meta. This is before Brig came into the game. It was Zen, Lucio, Ana. It was like Goats before Goats existed. Honestly, Sharks seems to be a completely selfless team. They do what they are, switching roles, and they don't seem to get pissed about it. Yeah, and that's what happens when you have a team that fully respects each other and all just know that they're doing what they're best to win. And not just playing selfishly, they're playing selflessly. Someone's saying Architect's Iron style worked better for how they wanted to play, whereas Violet's more mechanically sound. Ah. Custa Architect played 12 minutes and 46 seconds of Anna in 2019 season. 2019 season of what? Also, I'm pretty sure when we talk about the triple support, we mean 2018 season. Maybe in 2017. Congratulations on your first week at desk. I wanted to ask you if you ever considered classes that would benefit you potentially pursuing casting/analyst career. I'm trying to work on my skills in terms of just like, yeah, speaking better and analyst and casting career in the future. I think something that would be beneficial is doing like a speaking class, because there's like a way that you should speak on broadcast. It's like where you speak from like the diaphragm more. That could help. It allows you to like speak for longer without doing as much damage to your voice. But, you know, one step at a time. Yeah, I think like we don't really need to worry too much about like why Architect was playing. Like if Architect played bad, then I would have questions of why is Architect playing over Violet. Like Violet's obviously very capable and Architect's playing and he's like trash. But Architect's a god and he's playing incredibly well. So I don't think you need to question it too much. In Krusty we trust. Trust the crust. Sunday was really good. Both you and Force did really well on Sunday. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And we have a lot of things that we want to improve on and work on and just like have better segments and stuff. So we got a lot of work to do on the desk. But for the first weekend, we weren't too unhappy. I really like how aggressive Shock is going. And you see, like, here's a prime example of, like, the Shock just goes super aggressive, but by Sinatra going hard in the back line, like, Crimzo has to focus on the front line and give Sinatra almost free reign in the back line. So I actually really like the Doomfist pick. I don't think the Doomfist pick is the proper way to win. Like you're better off playing, like, May McCree. I think it is a better comp, but I think this works for Shock in the situation of like adapting in the moment. Like you sort of like, no team could pull this off where they like, it seems like they're just flexing to whatever the fuck they want. Like they got Choi going to the Sig, Sinatra on the Doomfist strike on the Reaper. Like it doesn't really make sense. And I think they're just getting away with it because they are the Shock. Any crunches, all the crunches. No more plumber cringe. The plumber had its moment. We want to be doing more segments. We want to do it better, but yeah, the plumber segment, you know, you need to have some extra fun stuff in the thing. Have some fun on the broadcast, but it came out alright. I wasn't super happy with it, but it came out alright. Like it was fine. It was fun. So you see Decay switch to the Reaper because of the amount of backline pressure that is being produced by Sinatra and that, and you see them just like engaging super hard on their backline. So I like the Reaper switch by Decay, but now Fuel has to engage, and it sort of makes the way that the Fuel is playing super linear. And I think the Shock are just going to brutalize this by the fact, like, you see like Sinatra's just setting up because he knows they're going to go in a certain way. They all know what's going on. It allows them to set up. They're going to try and rush the team. You can see the coordination between how often they beat and use an ult. It seems like Shock really... I think if something goes wrong it happens a lot where Shock just pop a beat and another ult to just win a fight almost instantly. And not a lot of teams really utilize that of like, if you just use these two ults in tandem like instantly and everyone follows the call, like it's so clean. Like let me show you that back. So here's sort of what I mean by it. So Sinatra comes in and he punches in, and the Fuel get to a point that's far enough in that it's like Shock need to win this fight soon because they're playing Doomfist Reaper and stuff like that. They're all inning and they haven't got anything. You see the call is just like, guys, we need to do something. And I guess Super's ult is sort of like, maybe this is more just panic ulting from them across the board, but I hope it's more cohesive and coordinated with the Reaper ult and the strike and the beat. Obviously finishes the fight, but the ult economy is kind of fucked. Sigma for bounce against barriers? No. No. That's not a thing. The reason I would say, I don't even know why. I think Choi doesn't want to be D.Va against this. He doesn't want to play D.Va in a narrow hallway in which he can't really control any space. Like, this is such a narrow hallway based thing, so he doesn't want to play D.Va because it's kind of hard to like get value against Reaper Mei. So you don't want to go Xayah because of the issues that exist with Xayah. I guess he just doesn't want to play Orisa as well, because I guess if he plays Orisa, it's kind of walking into the Fuel win condition of like they're just going to be butting heads. So I think he goes Sigma just for the damage and because he's a fucking good Sigma. Like, I don't hate the Sigma. I think Orisa might be more thing. I don't know. Like, this is a rough fight for the Shock right now, right? Like, the Fuel have got in for free. The Shock don't have a ton of ultimates. I think they were hoping for Sinatra to get more, and then he was going to ult. But they haven't really got it yet. That's a big Sigma ult, though. I remember seeing this live. Does Trill get actually cucked? Who does he get stunned by? I thought it was the Rock. Oh, it is a Rock. Dude, Choi's a god. Oh no, Moth stuns him as well. He gets double stunned. Moth and Choi are gods. Poor Trill, yeah. Trill's just getting bullied into existence. And that is the Reinhardt in this meta is very like, you just get bullied and your job is to just live as long as you can. And I think Trill's actually been playing pretty well. That was good. Oh, this sleep was so nutty. Oh, does he actually die to the Moira Orb? Sad boy hours. Oh, he's fine. Oh, that's such a sad moment as Anna. Samantha Kamiko, thank you for the 16 months. He also like 60 HP, but that's fine for Reaper. Like, because he's hoping that he gets a bunch of kills. Like, he does enough damage that he regenerates it all back. Architect's got it every roll, yeah. Dude, Architect's been fucking popping. He was so impressive this game. Actually, why am I watching his perspective? Fuel actually did a good job of like controlling rotations and trying to get into a good space. I just think the Shock did a better job of rotating around them. And like you see Striker and Sinatra, they're just waiting for them to engage.
Wobble wobble, motherfucker.
Like I think the Shock strategy doesn't work anywhere near as well if the Fuel can pick up a D.Va. I think if they went Ryan D.Va, they would be a lot stronger because you just wait for Sinatra to engage and the D.Va can sort of nullify a lot of the damage that comes out from Sinatra and sort of deal with that better. But because they're playing the Rhino Rissa, it just feels like they can't deal with it at all. They don't have a solution to the D.Va and the Reaper, the Doom and the Reaper. Radeeks, thank you very much for the 20 months. Good job so far, an owl. I was at the Dallas homestand and was happy that by the second day two, they figured out how to put you guys on the screen during hog time. Pog.
Traveling to Horizon Lunar Colony. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Alright, this is the moment that Shock got full held. Ready for it? Well, it's really when they came out with the Symmetra strat that everyone knows is coming 100% of the time. It kind of feels bad because Dallas Fuel literally have the counter strat to the Symmetra strat with the Junkrat. Look how ready Doha is for this. Look how ready. Look, that's a man, the face of a man who's ready. I don't like this by the Shock because I feel like this is a strat that everybody knows how to deal with at the top level. Oh god. Oh. Yes. Yeah, and now the rest of this map gets incredibly hard for the Shock. So they switch off. They decide to TP over here instead. Good rotations by the Fuel to reset. Decay with the off angle, which is nice. I really would have liked Gamsu to go earlier. I guess they weren't ready. Like, they really need to wait. Strikers actually won. That was a huge counter heal by Crimzo, though. I think that counter heal pretty much won this fight for them. Because I don't know if they would have won that without the counter heal. And Doha's just killing everybody. Get him, Note. Oh, that's such a feels bad. Dude, Striker's sim is getting bullied right now. Oh, that was an ambitious tie. I think he's probably just going to die for that. Yeah, I don't know about that one, Doha. Oh. Yikes. Dude, everything's just going so poorly for the Shock. He gets nanoed as he's purple and then he gets headshot. Like, this is just Horizon in a nutshell of, like, why is this map just has so much chaos. Like, just a couple of unfortunate series of events. And then Striker goes Sombra, which I also hate. Like, I don't really like Sombra at all here. Like, I would rather just see Striker just go to McCree. Or, like, Tracer. Just go Tracer. Honestly, I'm fine with Tracer. They get the pull. They get the Junkrat. And now they're stuck in the room. But they don't have the Junkrat, so they can't really do a lot. Oh, that was a bad nade by Architect. Striker kills Decay. But Rally's a really good ability, in case you guys didn't realize. Rip Doha. Doha just got bullied. Dude, Closer is doing so much work in this game, in this fight. It's insane. And this is why Horizon Lunar Colony and 2CP in general is just the worst. It just becomes a clusterfuck of just, like, really hard to take. And the reason is just because of how hard it is to get from here to the point. Like, to close that distance is just so hard. Oh, Note eats the male, which is huge. How does he eat that? I want to see this again. Wait, that's the wrong Diva. They have EMP mail. Like, they should never lose this. They should just EMP and then mail. Oh. That was a really good 8. But that was, like, poorly done. All they needed to do was throw the EMP first and then throw the mail. Why is Hybrid so much better than 2CP? Because 2CP... Hybrid has the same issue of, like, the first point is, like, so subject to just, like, rough times. But, like, 2CP is just, like... The problem with 2CP is that the better team doesn't always win. Because there are so many different, like, randomness that can happen in a match of 2CP. You see it on Anubis, you see it on Horizon, Lucalia, you see it on Hanamura. Of, like, the offensive team has such a massive disadvantage. Because you only need to cap 2 points... The way the map design has to be is it has to go through an incredibly high choke point, or like the offensive team needs to be at a major disadvantage than the defensive team, because otherwise everyone will just cap 1,000,000 points, right? But what that does is it means it's like it makes it so hard and so oppressive for the offensive team to move or do anything that it's just kind of like random. Peace out, Patrick. My favorite thing is the shock fuel almost through this. I don't even really want to break all this down. Because this is just a lot of just like... cue clown music, right? There's a moment in here which was like the dumbest move ever. So they dive, they get space, well played. They shouldn't have sent everybody to deal with that because they gave up a lot of their positioning. Clown Fiesta. Then Doha only has... We're 45 seconds in and Doha has 29%. So he hasn't got any space to do anything. Decay only gets 50% of Blade. Okay, sweet. Now they just run in, kill everyone, stagger everyone. Just want to say good job on the desk for the first week of... thank you very much. Boopy boop boop. Okay, so now we got more spam. They Valk to get space and control the area. Try and get some EMP. Doha's just really struggling to get EMP. I would rather see Doha, instead of going to the backline, play in the front line. And just, like, shoot at tanks. But because he's going in the backline, he's playing against an Ana and a McCree. And a Mei. Like, it's just so hard to farm anything. It's been 2 minutes and he has 70% EMP. You'd be playing more Note over Trill. I think if they want to play more D.Va, I think Note gives them more flexibility with their roster. So, like, I would like to see them play more Note, as much as I love my boy Trill. Like, I don't think playing double main tank is very good. So, let me show you the moment in which my heart breaks. So, Doha's still trying to farm EMP, but he can't do anything because... He can't do anything because he keeps going for the backline against Ana. He tries to hack the Lucio so that they can Nanoblade. Which is like, why not just wait for EMP Nanoblade? Just farm the EMP and then just walk forward. The second thing is... Okay. You are the Dallas Fuel. Okay? You have Nanoblade. Your Sombra is behind them. Look at the forward presence that they have. Their supports are in fucking Narnia. Because they're trying not to die to Nanoblade. Okay? Doha is in the backline for whatever reason. Why do they need to pull the blade from here? He's going to be like here when he pulls it. Why don't you just jump here as a team and control this space? Get all of this space because Lord knows Shock is not going to control it because they're so scared of your Nanoblade. Look at Rascal. Look at Striker as well now, right? He turns back. They pull the blade when Decay is here. He starts the Nanoblade initiation. Look at how far away their backline is. There is no reason to make this move. There is absolutely no reason to feel forced or obligated to do anything here. You take the space for free. It's like having an EMP. The Nanoblade and the EMP, the fear of those ultimates are almost as strong as the ultimates themselves because you should be able to get free space. Choi and Super are waiting for them to dive. Look, These guys are spectators in this game right now because Dallas Fuel is just letting them do whatever they want. What happens here is they nanoblade. Choi doesn't even have to worry about demacking. And even Gamsu realizes he's too far away. The Diva, the Monkey can't support this dive. Look at how alone Decay is because of how they dove like this. Do you ever expect the Nanoblade to get away with this? And people say like, oh, Huxell gets these 4K blades, these 5K blades so consistently. It's because they never do this. You would never see Vancouver have a setup like this. They die with the Nanoblade and just like everyone just does their own thing. And then like because their tanks have nothing else to do because they can't dive the backline, try and kill Super and it just doesn't work. And Fuel used so many ults for that. And it's just a greedy thing, right? Like that's like you playing to just hope because the combo that you have is so strong that's like, oh, it'll work because it's Nanoblade. It's like that's not true. Like you still need to set it up and get somebody. Like that's not on Decay at all. That's on the team for setting it up. Like, even now, look how much... Like, why didn't they do this last time? Like, imagine if they could have forced these 3 players to be here right now. Like, obviously, they weren't trying to be. Imagine if they could have forced these 3 players to be here for this Nanoblade. Moth isn't even playing this game right now because he's trying to hide for beat. The Sombra can literally play, like, right here. Like, play with the team. Just try and hack somebody, shoot at somebody. But instead, he's... just hiding the entire game. And look at how bad this EMP is. I think I remember this EMP. Look at this. Okay, that was also a bad shatter. But look how much space they've provided by just, like, existing. They forced a Nano and a Reinhardt just by, like, taking space and not overcommitting. They haven't had to use anything. They haven't had to use the EMP. They haven't had to force an EMP. And then, as I say that, Doha forces an EMP. That was so lucky for Doha. He should be dead. He should be so dead. He should be dead. If Rascal hadn't fucked up that wall and he had actually lived through that, I'm pretty sure they lose this fight. Because what happens is... if this wall blocks this bomb, Rascal lives, kills Doha. The Sombra dies, Moth comes out of hiding of his hermit of living in this corner for the last like 20 minutes. Comes in, beats, everyone rushes forward, and they probably win the fight. Gamsu's dead. For sure. That was so close to Fuel losing that map. It's absurd. And that's like, and that's the thing about like, people say like, Dallas Fuel look really good. But my take from this is like, this map I don't think was good by Fuel. I think this was like 2CP and I think they had some like, their defense was solid and it was like well rounded, but I think it just like, it was a snowball of like clusters. But like their ult economy isn't great. Their teamwork still isn't great. The bright spots are Decay's god, like in this team. They didn't show the adaptability when they're playing with in the first 2 maps. This isn't like a, you can't watch this match and be like, Fuel really outplayed those guys. That was sick. Like, I think it was just their individual performances, I think, are blinding people from like this team has great synergy and great teamwork and that kind of stuff. That doesn't really exist.
Traveling to Havana. Attackers incoming. Stop the payload.
They're top 10 on paper. They are top 10 for sure if they can get synergy. Just on individual play, I think this team can be top 10 of Dallas Fuel. Just because of how like their tank line and stuff like that, but they need synergy and they need to work together. And they need adaptability. It feels like right now they're just sort of like that's what like if Shock didn't have as good of adaptability as they did, like they probably would have lost this series because I think individually the Shock were getting outplayed in this series, but their teamwork and cohesion is like what like crush them. I think the only map that I was like, oh, this team like Shock is way better than the Fuel is this map, and that's because I think Shock just started working them out. It's a good wall on the immortality field.
Routing power to forward shield.
Do the guys call the viewer chat? Yes.
Spot one.
The mortality field bounced off the D.Va. I don't think it bounced off the D.Va. I think it bounced off the wall. It has the immortality field has really weird like collision. I don't think it can bounce off enemies though. The Fueler, yeah, like this is a bad engagement under the fact that Doha doesn't have Wraith, so Doha can't go first. Like Decay went way too early, forced his Wraith, and he had to run. But now because of the comp that Fuel is playing with the double main tank Reaper, they have to run it to the Shock. Because the Shock have the McCree, they have the D.Va, like they can just control space way better. So you see this here from them. Good wall. Oh, ambitious shadow by Trill. I wonder if Trill was asking for the wall to be dropped there. I don't know if that nano was necessary. I guess Moth is on Brig again. Like, why is Moth on... maybe Moth likes Brig against the Reaper. Because they're not even playing Doomfist now. Maybe it was against the Reaper because when they were getting spawn camped, he wants to play the Brig. I wouldn't hate it, the Brig against the Reaper. Just, like, giving another win condition on, like, stunning the Reaper. I think Custa's forgetting how many good teams there are. No, like, I'm saying, like, the Fuel can be top 10 if they really get their synergy together. But, like, you know, there's like 8 other teams that are in the exact same situation. Like, I don't think it will happen, and I don't think the Fuel is a top 10 team. What I'm trying to say is that their individual mechanics with I think with their DPS lineup and how they've been playing, like, it can be high, but they need the synergy. That was like really sloppy ult usage from the Shock. But it's gonna... I remember this works. Look at Super here. Shatters 2, pins. This is... If I'm Reinhardt, Closer and Trill both get booped out of the way. But look at this suck right now. Actually, Closer like strafes into it at the last second. Super pops here. With top 10 high, like I feel like people take like where people put them like way too legitimately. Maybe I should stop saying like an actual position, because I feel like people get super defensive when you put people on in like an actual like a top 10 and that kind of stuff. Like we don't fucking know. We've only seen 10 of the teams play. It's like really hard to like justify my reasoning. It's just like me giving like a general like essentially what I tried to say when I said I put them top 10 is like I think if Fuel has synergy, they could be a good team. Okay? That's what I'm trying to say without sort of giving the top 10. It's a good disengage by the shock. There was sort of fuel coming in with the strategy of like, let's use window and engage, but like the shock just being ready. Like, sure, shock was so passive in that situation. I think they just understand that they're in a massive ult disadvantage here. So great wall by Doha there. Where do you put Valiant after the first 2 games? I think it's really hard to tell because they were against Vancouver. Like, they beat Dallas, so I think they showed that they were doing well, but like they didn't. Vancouver, they had their ups and downs. I think it's really hard to judge it right now. I want to see how they play against like more middle of the pack teams. That kind of should have been eaten by Choi. Was close. That's a good pull into the mail. They way over ulted there though. Trill's Shadow was wasted. They had already won that fight. They just threw how many ults? 3 ults. This is like around the time that I would like to see like the Tracer from Sinatra. But Rahu's going to stick with the Mei. Maybe I'd like to see Striker go Tracer here. Like, I think if Striker went Tracer here, he would be so much more successful than Ryan and just provide backwards pressure. Like, if he just played around here as the Tracer, I think it would be so annoying and hard to deal with. Dude, Chill's just catching sleeps left and right this entire series. How'd you nerf such change, mate? Just the amount, like her ultimate's like super obnoxious, and how like it's such a big circle, but also if you get caught in it, you're just stunned for 4 or 5 seconds, which is essentially a death sentence in a game like Overwatch. And that's the issue, is that her ultimate, it has way too much value. Same thing with her left click, like when she can cleave multiple people and she slows and then stuns them, like it's just a really bad. It's just like a really stunning, like it's just like a really bad mechanic. Architect is insane with sleeps, but not always uses. Yeah, it doesn't feel like he's had many like super high impact. He's sort of like throwing them from distance and sort of healing people, but that gives him space. Like I don't mind the way he's sleeping, especially seeing as like against double shield. I think it's gonna be really hard to get some high impact sleeps, and the ult radius is huge. Yeah, I think wall is fine. Yeah, I think wall is fine mechanic. Like I think wall is like, it should be his strength that he has it, like, and it has counterplay like the wall. But the problem is that he has the wall, he has his ult, he has his left click. Like, he just has so many things that just make him such a strong character. I was gonna say, I would like to see Dallas do something.
60 seconds remaining.
How did Close get caught by that? Does he just score in the open? Like, the ability to drop something like a male, right, that is this big. Look how big it is. In this point, that the opposition team, it's not even like if you're standing in it, it's like you're slow, or if you're standing in it, like it's this kind of thing. If you stand in it, you die, is essentially, this is a death ring, and look how big it is. Wall can't have too low health because it's worthless, yeah. The wall is killable, for sure. Something they need to change with the wall is, it's really bad how a tank like a Reinhardt or an Orisa can't walk through the wall if only one pillar is broken. That is a really bad mechanic, because everyone can walk through it except for the tanks, which is like not useful. It should be that if you break one of the pillars, everyone can walk through it. 3 sections of the wall so tanks can fix it. Yeah, that's a fine solution. Like, that's fine. Like, I don't see anyone complaining about that change. And I think that's what she should be. The MLC thing, the 7th thing with the wall? No. The nerf freeze radius? I would like to see it and the Maze ult change. I'd like to see it like be more of a slow factor rather than a freeze factor. I think Trill started getting outplayed on this map by Super. Like, I think he really struggled. He's like, I don't think he's had a successful shatter this round.
Team kill.
Time to raise my APM.
I think if you change it to a slow, you need to buff the damage. Yeah, and that's it. Like, I think you can tweak the numbers and tweak the way it works, but I just don't like how it's like a stun radius. Like, that's just too big and too strong. Bap, lamp, sass, ice plus ice ball glitch. Let's have a look at it. 1 second, guys. Let's have a look at this. Make sure everything's closed before I do anything. What do we got here? Oh, Bo, you want food? Let me feed you. What do you do? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, it actually fell into the wall? I've never seen it fall into a wall, but the way the lamp interacts... The way the lamp interacts with the wall is like really bad. Who was it? Was it Dogman who posted the clip of he threw the lamp at the same time the wall went up and his lamp went into like Narnia. The way it interacts is really bad. It's the same. Like I've had it where I've been on top of I've jumped and I've tried to throw it over the wall and it like clips the wall and it doesn't like just like hit it and then go anywhere. It does a small bump and then like slowly falls and it's like such a bad. It's just like a bad interaction thing. 1 second, guys. Let me feed the kitties. They're pouring at me. But that's the lamp with any object, yeah. But I think the wall is like the most interactable one, though. You want to see the cats? Hiya. Say hi. Say hi, kitty. You want some food? And then we got Chunky McChunkson. Ooh. Sorry, chat, I almost dropped you. Alright. Custa the feeder in all aspects, of course. Alright, let's go. Dude, the Nano Ryan rally in. The problem with that is like Super's probably pissed, and this is such like a selfless thing by Super though. Like not having a Lucio when you're Reinhardt is just the worst thing ever. I feel like the Fuel's Reaper play has been really bad as well. Like I haven't been impressed with Decay playing this Reaper. I feel like he's got caught a bunch of times and like hasn't been effective and just kind of feels out of synergy with the rest of the teams and just like dying for free.
30 seconds.
It's a bit smaller where you can break them out. No, you can't have like the problem. I also really dislike in this game. There are abilities that can be completely negated by something like the D.Va eating a male. That is like such a game-winning, like a fight-winning ultimate that takes really long to build up, and then it just like disappears because it gets eaten. Like I don't like that's not a massive counterplay either. Like obviously it's cool and it's hype, but like as a player, that kind of stuff really like it's not fun. It's not a fun team aspect when like it just gets eaten, right? Like. It's the same thing with like Beat. I think Beat shouldn't have like a drop the beat moment where it's like so easily countable. Well, it's like not super easy countable, but it's like it can ruin the fight. Like especially when you have other characters with other ultimates that are instant. It's also not fun to play against Mei. And that's it. Like, I would like it to just be balanced so that, like, the ultimate is useful, but it doesn't have, like, a completely, like,
Ready for battle.
game-ruining effect when it doesn't get used.
Attackers incoming. Stop the payload.
D.Va, yeah, and that's it. Like, D.Va has, like, I think if D.Va didn't have as much eating capability, I'm not sure if she would be as strong, but the fact that she just, like, can eat the world is, like, kind of lame at times. But instant cast is the pros and cons of deciding a strat. Yeah, and that's it. Like, actually, I don't know if that's like an actual pro and con. Like, I don't think of like, oh, let's go Mei. Her like her ult's really good, but I'm like, but then you run the risk of it getting eaten. Like, you don't really consider that factor, especially at the top level. You just like assume it won't, and when it does, you're like, wow, I'm bummed. You have to think about the D.Va when she exists and that kind of stuff, and she changes the way you play, but that's not like, when I'm choosing the character, I'm not like, I don't want to play Mei because they have a D.Va. It's like rolling a nat 1, yeah.
Wobble, motherfucker.
Antonio Janice, thank you very much for the Prime sub. Welcome to the fam. Do you think Shadow shouldn't have a cast time either? I think Shadow needs a cast time for the counterplay aspects of it. Of like people have abilities. It kind of goes back to the idea that if the Reinhardt gets stunned on it, that he shouldn't. Like, I like that it can be blocked, right? Because you can use your ability to block it. But I feel like if he gets stunned during his ultimate or slept during his ultimate, like it should just come back. Like, as much as that kind of feels like a shitty mechanic, like I don't know. Think about how often you eat an ABL as D.Va as how often you eat a Sigma. Well, as Sigma, it has to, like, they have to throw it at you, right? And unless you're a bad player like me, you don't throw it at the Sigma very often. While D.Va is just, the radius is enormous of why it's so strong. Brig Bash while ulting sucks ass. Yeah, it just, like, it's not fun. Like, it's just such a, like, so lame when you, like, this ultimate, this such high impact thing, like, gets taken away because of, like, something like that. Obviously, there is counterplay and you can do things to make it so that it doesn't happen. But it just, I don't know, it doesn't feel like. This is actually such a sick spawn camp by the Shock, by the way. Fuel just don't really have an answer at this point. I think they're just trying to, like, gamble with what to do. Striker comes like Widow, and, like, Decay goes Tracer to deal with the Widow. I would almost prefer him to switch to Widow to counter the Widow. And then just take resources, and then give the front line more space. Because he doesn't really do much as Tracer. When did Adder sign for Spark? Today, apparently. This spawn camp is devastating. Yeah, this was like the map that was like actually one-sided. I feel like the Shock. I think the Shock with Rascal and Mei is like significantly stronger. Like, I think it's much better for this team. If they actually want to play the meta of like Mei, McCree, I would like Shock to play more Rascal. Because I think Rascal's Mei is actually really solid, and I think it seemed more solid than Sinatra's. But if they want to play anything else with like the Doomfist, with like the Tracer and that kind of stuff, I do like Sinatra over him. Oh, Decay with the stick on a moth. Oh, never mind. Rascal just... Goodbye, Decay. Striker's so pog, yeah. He's actually impressed me. The more I watch this thing, I think he's actually good. The fact that he has all the hit scans under his belt with McCree, Widow, Tracer, and that kind of stuff, I think it gives him so much versatility in this roster. I don't think his Widow and his McCree are exceptional, but they're definitely, like, good. Oh, that was a dangerous Mei ult. I think Choi could have eaten that. Oh, no, he was on cooldown. So he saw Matrix and then threw it. That makes sense. Well played. It's kind of like they used the window to bait up the Matrix, which then gave Doha the space to use the mail. Which was smart. It worked. Ooh, I don't like this mail by Rascal, though. This fight is over. They need to die. They should really die on the card as well. I guess they can run. It's dangerous to run, though. The fuck are you doing here? Architect, no! I think it's bad how spawn campable so many spawns are. But the thing about spawn camping is, like, you shouldn't have... It comes down to, like, the fact that you should have... The reason it works so well against Fuel is because the strategy they're playing with the Mei and the Reaper, double main tank, they have to play a frontline strategy, which means they all have to walk out of one choke. The spawn camp wouldn't have worked as well against Shock, and you saw it didn't work as well against Shock because Shock can... They go out multiple doors, they have more flexibility. So I think it only works so well because of the composition that Fuel are playing. Shock are really going to struggle when Rhino's banned. Super's kind of a one trick. Nah, that's why they have Smurf. Like, Super has a fine... Like, I would actually be interested to see what Super's ball and monkey is like these days. Because we haven't really seen that from him, ever. But they have Smurf. Like, I think that's Smurf's job. Like, and he can play Orisa, like, I'm pretty sure. So, as I said, like, I think they're fine. Like, it's not like they're going to, like, hard struggle with Super on Ryan. Not on Ryan. Dude, True gets robbed on this shatter, by the way. He just fucking drops the hammer on 18 people. You guys ready for this? Oh, take that, Super. Oh, everyone's on the floor. Hits the fire strike on the Ana, but just... Team, Gamsu got slept. Closer Crimzo. Oh, Decay's dead. Doha's... I guess no one could really follow up that well. But yeah. This is just a feels bad, man. This whole time Strike is just like throwing clips out as well. Yo, you asshole, look over here. Yo, man, I hope you know that you're an inspiration to a lot of people and a tons of people you bro. Drink some water and stay healthy. Thanks, Test Corrections. That was a roller coaster of a message. I appreciate it, man. That's a lot. They weren't in position to follow up his Bria. They're also playing Widow Mei, so they don't really have a ton of damage, and the Widow was dead, so it's kind of hard. Like, Mei doesn't have, like, a ton of, like, burst damage.